Mark Schiff for the podcast You Don't Know Schiff with my, I've said it a million times, he's a wonderful human being, Lowell Benjamin, my co-host, my friend, my mentor, my compadre, my oh my, so many my's. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I didn't want to stop you. I didn't want to make sure you had a complete list there.
You know, you're one of the few people in the world that I could still say nice things about and not get sued. Like, you know, I've mentioned how handsome you are many times,
Right.
and you're not offended by this, right? You're not
No,
going to call
so
your lawyer.
you're the only person I ever hear it from, so it's more than welcome.
Hmm.
Well, we could talk all day about that, but what about today's topic? What do we have on tap for today?
One of my favorites. The trouble I've had with cars, like when they break
Yes.
down, when something's busted, and then
Yeah.
when I have to get it repaired,
Or something is stolen.
something is stolen. I've covered every accidents. I've had them all.
So why
Uh,
don't we begin with the most recent and we'll work our way back.
First of all, let me just preface it. I love cars. I love driving. I love going on long car trips. I've taken many with my wife, my
Hmm.
kids, thousands and thousands of miles, and it's amazing. You know, just to go 30 miles in a car to visit somebody.
Right.
The generation before my parents, you couldn't really do that.
Right.
It's
So
amazing.
what could possibly go wrong then?
Well, when you travel with your family, everything could go wrong. I mean, it could turn out to be just a horror. You know, the kids vomiting in the back of the car and the wife vomiting in the front of the car and everybody commenting on what an awful driver I am. I've had at one time 4 people in the car all commenting on what kind of horrible driver I am.
Is there a typical theme like you drive too fast, you drive too slow?
I drive too slow. I drift
Interesting.
from one lane to the other. I honk people sometimes when I
Hmm.
shouldn't be honking. You know, when you honk now, they immediately yell, say to you, "Do you want to get shot?"
Right.
That's the go-to these days is, "Go ahead, honk. You're going to get shot one day."
Right.
They go right to my imminent death from honking.
So do you agree? Do you think you do drive too slow? Is there a truth to the accusations?
I drive the speed limit or a little above, like 3, 4 miles above. I drive slower than most people. I also, like if I'm all the way over in the left lane on the freeway, on the highway, and there's like 5 other lanes, I have to change lanes.
Yeah.
My wife comments that I always move over to the exit lane way too early.
Right.
She says, "You've got 3 miles left before the exit. You
Right.
don't have to move over now."
Right. Do you respect the fast lane rules? Like left is the fast lane.
Yes,
So
I am not
and
one
it's
of those
actually
people that drive slow in the fast lane and
yeah.
hold up traffic from here to Seattle.
And then what about
And,
the drifting? Is there any truth to the drifting accusation?
I drift. I got other things to do when I'm
What are you,
driving.
you eating a dinner, steak
Eating
dinner while you're driving?
dinner, texting, making phone calls,
Right.
reading,
Writing in your journal.
writing in the journal. I have a blender that I attach to the cigarette lighter. So I'm making smoothies, Yeah,
Understood.
okay. It could interfere sometimes making a smoothie while you're driving at 93 miles an hour,
But you're
but
rarely, if ever, accused of being too aggressive or driving too fast. It's sort of the other end of the spectrum.
only occasionally to like get into a parking lot, like let's say the baseball stadium where there's 400 cars in front of you. I
Right.
will go all the way up front and cut in front of a guy.
Mm.
But I get the same, "You want to get shot?"
Right.
That's the go-to with anything I do that is the slightest
Right.
bit aggressive.
Right.
All right, you're going to get shot one day. Okay. That's what you want. I don't know why they assume that's what a person wants.
But so do you get the running commentary from your wife like while you're driving like, "Oh, he's coming in, you got to slow down." Is it sort of like a constant? That's what I get. Sort of the play by play if you would.
Right, right, right. They're like the Marv Albert, or
Yeah.
they're. It's like a hockey game to them.
Yeah. And then I always use Google Maps with the voice thing and my wife
Yeah.
hates it. So then she makes me turn it off and then she's like, "I'll tell you where to go." And then inevitably we miss a turn and it becomes my fault.
No, my wife hates when I put on weird voices on the Google.
Oh, I
You
never
can
mess with
change.
the voice. I don't even know how to do
Oh, it's fantastic. It's just fantastic. What gets my wife really upset when I'm driving, and sometimes, because you're very close. It's very close quarters. She's sitting.
Sure.
If I'm driving, she's like as far away as possible, but it's still close. She's
Mhm.
like leaning against the door, ready to jump out at any given moment.
My
So when
wife
she starts,
tries to push me out, actually.
yeah, when she starts fighting or starts some argument, and notice I say when she starts,
Sure.
yeah, because I never start fights.
Between us, you don't have to take any blame.
I understand. So I carry with me earmuffs, which she hates when I put on, like when she's talking. Uh, it muffles her sound. And I started this as like a joke. I go,
Sure.
honey, I'm not going to listen to this. And I have in the little compartment in my door,
Hmm.
I can slide them in, and I put on these white cushioned like snowballs. They look like on my ears,
Right.
and it muffles her. And she goes, "Get those off your head."
And then you pretend you can't hear.
Yeah, I go, "What?" And this infuriates her.
Seems pretty productive.
Yeah. So anyway, let's. So I just had one of the greatest experiences of my life. Maybe that's a little overblown.
I wasn't expecting you to summarize it that way, but please tell us.
We went away for a few days to Palm Springs. I went with my wife, my
Hmm.
first wife,
Hmm.
who's my only wife. I like to call her my first wife too. I introduce her as this is my first wife.
That's one thing we have in common when we met. We realized we both make that joke, which never gets old.
Never gets old.
Yeah.
So anyway, we went to Palm Springs. My wife, myself, my son Jacob, his wife Anna, there are two grandchildren, Ben and Lucy, and my son Noah and his wife
I didn't realize it was a whole
Chloe.
thing. Okay.
They flew in from New York, and we went for the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. Shavuot?
That'll be a whole separate episode.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the Jewish part of it, but we went for the holiday,
Hmm.
and we went to Palm Springs, and it was quite lovely. So I'm the fetch it guy. We're going to leave. Go get the car, Mark. It's like I'm a limousine driver.
Hmm.
Go, Mark, get the car, pull it in front. You can't walk there to the carport, which is 16 feet away.
Right.
They want me to pull up front. It's not like I have a nice car, but a Prius. I don't know why they want to be seen getting into this type of car, but like it's some limousine.
They told
So
everyone it was an Uber.
yeah. So anyway, I went and got the car. I started the car, and I parked in front of the little condo we were staying at,
Hmm.
and brought down all the stuff, and we packed the car.
Hmm.
And then I went to leave with my wife, and the car would not start. It was dead as a doornail.
Hmm.
I tried to start it, and then I said, I'll be right back. Anyway, make a long story short, could not get the car started. It was completely dead, and I have AAA.
Okay.
And
Did
this
you
is
know
the
what it
second.
was? Are you able to diagnose what was going on at this point?
So there was a sign that came up on the screen there. It said, car in park, and I could not get it out of park. Impossible. It just was whatever. I don't know what
Was it
it's
the
at
wheel
Toyota
thing?
now.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, no, it wasn't any
No?
of those things. And
Okay.
it was just some electrical thing, or
Right.
it's the battery. I don't know. It's at Toyota now. So we called AAA. And
Okay.
I have a higher end AAA, where
Name drop.
yeah. So
You
I
have the
get 100
Premier. I think
miles.
the Premier is the high. Oh, so you middled it.
I'm the middle guy. There's above me where you get endless, where they can
200.
tow you from here to,
Okay. They'll
Lebanon.
take you on a tour around the world. Yeah.
So I called. They said it was Memorial Day. The day before Memorial Day was on Sunday, and Memorial Day is Monday, and everything was closed. Toyota, everything's closed for 2 days.
Right.
So I couldn't bring it to Toyota in Palm Springs. So I called AAA and I said, listen. And they said, where are you? And I told them, it took them 4 hours
Okay.
to come to me.
Okay.
4 hours. You would think I was in Minnesota in December 7th,
Right.
40 below zero with 3,000 cars not starting. Where is this guy for 4 hours? And I went to the heat thing. I said, it's over 100 degrees out, and I'm standing outside.
Hmm. So that's why it
We'll
was.
get there.
That's why it was only 4 hours.
It was unbelievable. So anyway, I'm just cutting to the chase. So they're going to tow me back 135 miles to Los Angeles.
Which they tried jumping it and it didn't work.
No, couldn't
Okay.
jump it because it's an electric battery,
Oh,
and
that's a
the
whole other
Prius
thing.
cannot be jumped.
Got it.
Not like a regular car battery,
Right.
thing where
Okay.
they can just swap out the batteries. So the guy goes, yeah, you got an issue here, and I'll tow you back to Los Angeles. You get 100 miles free, but 37 extra miles you pay at $12 a mile. So it was almost $500.
Okay.
So my wife was going to ride back with me, but then I came up with this brilliant idea. I said, why don't you ride back with our son and
Hmm.
I'll take care of this myself?
Chivalry is not dead.
No, it was my thought
Hmm.
that she would have a comfortable ride
Sure.
with my son. And somehow she never explained that it was my idea to the other kids. She said, oh, I'm glad I rode back with Noah.
Oh, so you lost the credit. You didn't even get the credit.
Yeah, but to my credit,
Hmm.
I did not say it was my idea.
So you didn't fight for the credit.
No, this is one of the keys to marriage. Don't cheer yourself on. Don't let them know when you're doing a nice thing.
Right.
They'll figure it out at your memorial. That's how long I believe you have to wait if you're
I
married,
thought
if
it was
you're
going to
land.
be during an afterlife audit of some kind, actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it says here, guy goes, it says here, well, you let her ride back in comfort in the
Palm
air
Springs with
conditioning.
100 degrees. Good for you. Yeah.
So, riding 137 miles with my wife is fraught with problems.
So maybe your wife knew the reason you were offering to have her go with them was to make it easier for you. So she didn't give you the credit.
Maybe she tinkered with the car so she didn't have to ride with me in a tow truck, too. Anything's possible with her.
I
I
could
love
see
her,
that.
by the way. I
Yeah.
just want to caveat this. I do
Yeah.
love her, but 137-mile ride, there's going to be a
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah. I don't blame her.
And now you know why I drift lanes. When somebody's yelling at me
You can start
while I'm
going towards
driving,
oncoming traffic.
yeah, all of a sudden I'm on the wrong side of the road with trailer trucks coming at me at 90 miles an hour, and I don't care. It's easy when you're upset to go to I don't care. I don't care if we all die on this one. It's just I can't take this anymore.
Yeah, I'll give you the
So
choice. I got the headphones or the
yeah,
oncoming traffic.
the muffler
Yeah.
down in the air, the snowball
Yeah.
muffler. So guy comes, tow truck guy, and he says, "Okay, we're going back to LA, huh?" And I said to him, "We're going to be good friends by the time we get there." And he didn't understand it at first.
Hmm.
Like, what does this mean? What do you mean we're going to be good friends? And yeah, we had a nice time. And let me tell you, this guy was fantastic. He was American born of Mexican descent.
Hmm.
His parents came here from Mexico when he was a baby, and they started wonderful little businesses. And he's doing tow trucks now. And his favorite thing to do, by the way, is pull idiots out of the sand in the desert. Because I said to him, "You're a tow truck guy. What are some weird calls?" He goes, "Well, sometimes people go with these off-road things into the sand,
Yeah.
and they get stuck, and I have to put a winch.
Right.
You know the winch?
I think so.
You got to
Never
tie a
used one.
winch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no. And he pulls them out, and he loves doing that.
Yeah. I had a friend who his brother drove a Jeep. He drove it into a little body of water, got stuck. So my friend went to get his brother's Jeep out and got his Jeep stuck. So I assume
Yeah,
that registered as an all-time great for the tow truck driver that eventually pulled him out
they
of there.
love it. They love
Yeah.
that stuff, and they love when people do stupid things like I did a couple of weeks ago when I called AAA when I locked my keys in the trunk of the car.
In the trunk. Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. When they come and you've done something really stupid,
Yeah. You kind of look down.
they're trained not to mock.
Right.
My wife, on the other hand, you what?
Yeah.
You never hear that from a tow truck guy. You what?
Yeah.
How the hell did you do that?
Yeah.
My whole family hit me with that. How the hell did you do that? You
Right.
shouldn't be driving anymore. That's the other thing they go to. Besides getting shot for honking, you shouldn't be driving anymore. We're going to take the keys away from you.
Yeah, I think they're like at the car wash. Like every time we bring in the car to the car wash, it's like so awfully messy because of the kids. It's like, have you ever seen anything worse? This messy.
Yeah.
They're like, no, no, no. We've seen much worse. They're
Yeah.
always reassuring. So I assume, like, no, no, no. We see the craziest things. So
I once wrote a joke about, during Passover, the religious Jews go and bring their car in to
hmm.
vacuum out any crumbs and bread that, the kids eating.
Hmm.
And I said this one Chabad family, they're known to have a lot of children. That underneath a whole pile of Gemaras was one of the children they were looking for the last 2 months,
Right.
just under there, just eating the crumbs from the sandwiches they eat in the back of the car and throw on the floor.
Yeah.
So so
So you're driving back with the guy. Do you know what's wrong with the car yet?
no, neither one of us know, and we don't know. And we dropped it off in LA, and I'm waiting now for a phone call from Toyota.
Hmm.
And
So it could be
because of the
something
tow
very
truck,
minor.
You know, I haven't. I have the warranty, so I hope they have to put a new engine in. When you got the warranty, you just
Right.
hope,
You're like, have
just
at
rip
it.
out the seats, put new seats in. I don't care what you
Yeah.
do anymore. Change the light bulbs. So I rode back with this guy. He was a, heavyset gentleman. He had tattoos of Mexican saints. Wonderful, like a religious guy. And he had, I said, who is that? And he told me that's some saint that watches over you. And then he had the Virgin Mary, a wonderful guy. And we had tremendous conversations.
So he
Not
drops
one,
you off. He brings your car to the Toyota, and then how do you get home? He drives you. You have to jump in an Uber.
no, no. Then my wife came and
Oh, she
picked me
picked
up.
you up.
So let me just tell you a little about the ride.
Mhm.
135 miles, sitting next to him.
Mhm.
First of all, not one fight with the guy, like I would my wife. I would be
Yeah.
3 fights in before we get to the outlet mall, and
Before you get to the freeway.
before we even start the car.
Yeah.
So, just a wonderful guy. We talked about his work ethic
Mhm.
and his love of America. This was Memorial Day,
Mhm.
approaching, and how much he loved the country. And his mother's cooking, his father's cooking. His wife is pregnant and looking forward to child. And I talked about my children. And this is a first for me. At the end, when we got to LA, I gave this guy a hug.
Wow.
It's my first time I ever hugged a tow truck driver.
Wow.
Have you?
I have never, but we did have a friend that came over the other day, and she had a short drive from her hotel to our house. And then when she got here, she hugged the Uber driver. And I said that was, they evidently had a very meaningful conversation. So they hugged, but I've never done that. I haven't dealt with too many tow truck drivers though either. I can only think of like
I've been in a
one
few.
time when I had a whole
So I got to be
thing.
honest, I just love the ride. I love
Yeah,
riding with the guy, talking with him. It was a new experience with this gentleman. It's rare when you get 3 hours with a person you would never ordinarily meet in life.
sure.
So I had 3 terrific hours with him, chatting away, and I gave him some tips on parenting when his kids, about spending time with them, how important it is, and he
Mm.
knew everything anyway. And then I gave him a tip, and he goes, "Oh, you don't have to."
You said, "Oh, thank God," and you took the money back.
Yeah, thank God. So the tip thing was interesting. Have you ever debated the amount of tip to give somebody? Because this is
Sure.
this is. So I thought I'll give him $50.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, well, and then I thought, no, this
No,
guy just drove you 135 miles, and he's having a baby, so give him $100.
it's even
Say,
nicer.
here's 50 for you, and say, here's 50 for your new baby. To buy him something, and don't use it yourself. Make sure you buy the. And then I thought, $100 is too much. I started talking myself out of it. It was a terrible feeling.
You're
So
like,
I dropped
who's
down to
this guy to get a
75.
tip anyway? 75. That's great.
Yeah, why should I give this guy anything?
My
No, I,
my
I
guess
didn't.
would be 100 would probably be like the high end of what people would give.
So I dropped myself down to 75.
I think that's generous.
Yeah. And I didn't tell him what to do with the money. I didn't say this is for the kid and this is for you and get your wife.
Like,
I
here's
showed a picture of
$5.
her
This is
kids.
for the kid. Here's another five. This is for you.
So I
Give
gave him
him.
$75 and then I hugged him. And I said goodbye to her,
So
a
where's
nice
he
guy.
based out of? Palm Springs?
Yes. He had another car on the thing that he was dropping off 20 minutes from me.
Oh, he had like a flatbed?
Yeah. The other car was on the flatbed. Mine was being dragged along with the back wheel spinning around
Ah, so
because
your
there was already a
mileage
car
is
in
going up.
it.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, we were talking. He's a religious man, and he has the saints on his arms.
Mhm.
And during one conversation, he said, he might have said "damn," and he goes, "Excuse my language."
Hmm.
I said, "No, it's fine. It's perfectly okay." And then I asked him a question: "What's some of the music you enjoy listening to?" That was part of our conversation, and he told me the name of this type of music. And when I got by myself yesterday, I put it on, and it was the filthiest music I ever heard in my life.
Really?
It was unbelievably from a guy that wouldn't say "damn." He set me up on
What
this
what
one.
kind of music is it?
It was,
He give you a band or group or like a type of
so
music?
let me see here. I just give me a second. I'm going to pull up my Spotify. A
It was
bunch of,
unmistakable swearing. It wasn't like a.
it was beyond belief. This type of
That's funny.
thing here. I thought I was going to get some nice,
Right.
meditative,
Right.
spiritual stuff. Not even close. Oh, Chopped and Screwed. That was the name of
Oh, that's a
the
band?
playlist.
I don't even know what that is, but it doesn't sound like it's gonna be meditative just
Look
based
up
on that.
Chopped and Screwed on Spotify.
Alright.
Body Parts is one song. I'm not even going to tell you the names of these.
I think you're lucky you made it out of the car
That
alive.
was unbelievable. Lucky the guy didn't kill me. But we had a tremendous time. And then my wife picked me up.
Mhm. Was she happy to see you?
Yeah, she was happy that I let her ride back with my son. Now, what she wants me to do now is tell me what you think of this. She wants me
Mhm.
to complain to AAA
Mhm.
how long it took
Mm.
for the tow truck to come. And she set it up by saying to me, I know you're not going to do this because you're Mr. Nice Guy with everybody and you're
Right.
always telling people how good they do and you don't like to comment about when
Right.
people are doing not good work.
Right.
And I took offense to that.
You're like, "You called me Mr. Nice Guy, but I don't think you mean it in a good way." I don't know. I've called AAA a bunch. I haven't had to be towed often, but I feel like, yeah, an hour is, like, minimum.
They told me they'll be there between at the latest an hour, and then it went.
Oh,
They
really?
made some mistakes. They made
Oh,
some
okay.
mistakes. AAA.
I think you can lodge a complaint without being rude about it. I think that's
Yeah, and I
fair.
don't want to complain about this tow truck driver because he was so wonderful.
Oh, you're afraid if you complain, it maybe is his fault. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't do that. But anyway, I'm waiting for the. So we had to drop the car off, by the way, because of the tow truck, and the car was not movable. We had to
Yeah,
drop it off at the late night Toyota lot
right.
where you can drop the key in the box and
Okay,
when they open. But
okay,
we had to drop it off sideways. See,
okay,
most cars you drop off facing all the same direction,
right.
one car behind another car.
Yeah.
But he couldn't pull the tow truck in
Oh,
with the car facing
right.
in the right direction, so he had to pull in sideways,
Okay.
and we dropped the car off sideways.
It's funny. Did
I'm
you take
sure
a
I'm not the
picture? That's a
first.
funny visual.
I did not. I
Hmm.
That's silly on my part. Yeah.
Huh.
So anyway,
You
that was this weekend, and I've had cars break down, a number of times. Um,
why
there's a
don't you
story in
share
my
the story you wrote in the book?
what the free cars.
No, didn't you in Washington?
Yeah. So that's what happened. Thank you. So I was driving down to a sit-in in Washington D.C.
Mhm.
And a sit-in, if you don't, people don't know what a sit-in is. That's a bunch of kids sit in. We sit down and block things and start screaming about things we want, or till we run out of pizza. And then the sit-in is over, and you go home to your rich parents. So on my way to Washington D.C., I had a 1952 Chevy Deluxe, 3-speed on a column, beautiful old car. My father gave me. My uncle gave it to him. He gave it to me. And I went down there with my friend Ricky, and we picked up a hitchhiker, a one-armed hitchhiker on
Mhm.
the New Jersey Turnpike. And I'm telling you, when I asked him his name, he said Stumpy. That's what he said his name was. So Stumpy, the one-armed hitchhiker. We got to Maryland. I went and I got an oil change.
Mhm.
And then when we left, I don't know why I stopped in Maryland for an oil change, but I did. It was just destined to happen.
Mhm.
And on my way out of there, I'm driving on the freeway. The red light goes on, says, I need oil. And the guy didn't tighten the bolt on the bottom of the oil pan,
Mhm.
and all my oil drained and my engine seized.
Mhm.
I called a tow truck.
Mhm.
I came with the tow truck. I was 18 years old. And by the way, the same Mexican guy came then too. It was
It's the beginning
crazy.
of
He
a
was
beautiful
much younger.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, he was much younger, and we didn't recognize that we in the future relationship we were going to have the 3-hour ride from Palm Springs eventually. So the guy came, told my thing, and I hitchhiked to Washington with Stumpy and my friend. And I ended up leaving the car, and I went down. I went back to Maryland to see the car with my parents. They drove me down there, and they bought the car for $50. I had to let the car go for $50,
Right.
and that was another poor experience. I've had the cars. I was in an accident where somebody ran a stop sign and demolished my car a couple
Right.
of days ago.
Oh.
I was in a car with a friend of mine, and I saw the guy behind me coming. I was at a red light, and I said, "Hold on." This guy doesn't look like he's going to stop.
Right.
Boom!
Yeah.
Smashed right into the back of us. Um, it was incredible.
Yeah.
Months of physical therapy for me
Oh,
and the
really?
other guy.
Wow.
I mean, insane. So anyway, cars. I love cars. I'll tell you one other great car story. I may have said it before, but with Jerry Seinfeld, he has Porsches, and I'd never driven a Porsche. And I went to see a taping of Seinfeld one time, and I'm hanging out with him during the day. And I said, I saw this Porsche he pulled in with, and I said, man, I'd like to drive that one day. He said, take it home with you and give me the keys to your car. And I had a 76 Toyota Corolla that was on its last legs. It was totally a piece of crap.
Uh-huh.
And he took my Toyota home,
Uh-huh.
and I took his Porsche home.
Uh-huh.
And it was, I could not drive it, his car. I was so afraid that I was going to crack up this $200,000 car. I drove it about 4 miles an hour.
Right.
And I
Defeating the
never,
purpose of driving a Porsche, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just never got the feel of what it was like to drive a Porsche like that.
But do you like sports cars, the feel like that's so low to the ground? Do you like that?
I used to.
Yeah.
Now you would need a winch to get me out of one.
You
See
need
what I did
AAA
there?
to get you out of the car.
I would have to call AAA and
Yeah.
my Mexican friend, who I love and adore and love to hug,
Yeah.
give big tips to. He would have to come with a winch
Yeah.
and hoist me out of the car. Now, I don't
Yeah.
like sitting on the ground. Although I did debate getting a Miata.
Oh, really? Those are really small.
Yeah. So that's, I love cars. I can't fix them. I feel like I'm at the mercy. I don't know if you do this too. I'm always afraid when I buy high ticket items that they're screwing me somehow. So this is what I go to. If I have a car and I've had it for 8 years and
Mhm.
something goes wrong,
Yeah.
I immediately go to, they screwed me.
Yeah.
And I've had the car for 8 years. But
Yeah, that was my
somehow,
goal originally when I get a car, keep it for 10 years. And then, because at that point, then too many things start going wrong. But yeah, there's always, when you buy a car, you assume they're cheating you. And
yeah.
then whenever you take a car in,
Ah,
you just assume they're having a field day with you.
I'd like to do one day? Go in as myself to get something repaired
Hmm.
and then dress as a woman
Yeah.
and then go in.
Well, they've done these undercover things on the
Yeah.
news where they have a car, they take it to an expert mechanic who fixes up the car perfectly, and they'll like make one like little thing loose, not as serious as an oil pan, but something, and they're like, yeah, making a noise or whatever, and then they'll go to like 10 shops, and like 8 out of 10 will make up some crazy
Uh,
story, and they're like, look here, this is wrong, and they're completely lying
yeah.
on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't fix this immediately, you're
Yeah, good thing
winch
you brought
material.
this in. Yeah.
Yeah. You're lucky you brought it in because you're going to need a winch by the end
Yeah.
of the afternoon to get you out of this thing.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's one of those industries where unfortunately they know
Yeah.
most people don't know what the heck they're doing. So
Yeah. So that's my thing with cars, but I
okay,
wouldn't trade it for $1,000,000. I love cars. I love
right,
taking trips with them. In fact, we're
okay,
planning a trip now to Iceland.
because your wife knows you can't
No,
drive.
not my wife, me and the Mexican guy.
Ah, very nice.
We're going to go to Iceland together and drive
Yeah,
the road there and see the
he's
fjords.
got all this spending money now.
Yeah. Yes, the wife and myself, we're planning a driving trip to Iceland in July.
Very nice.
And
No
there'll be
ice.
no ice in Iceland.
Well, we're glad you're back safe and sound, and the marriage is moving along nicely. So
Love
this
it.
was fun. Another talking Schiff, part of You Don't Know Schiff. Thank you guys for listening. And please subscribe and follow if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this episode or any episode, please text it to a friend. Let them know we're out there. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And read my new book, Why Not? Lessons on Comedy, Courage, and Chutzpah. There's a couple of car stories in there that I think you might enjoy.
All right.
So thank you, folks.
Thanks. See you next time.